Welcome to the I Know program of modules designed to help people new to business. We're now at module 7.1, which is relating to pitching for early stage funding, and that includes grant funding. The materials for this have been developed here at the Centre for Entrepreneurship and Business Incubation at the University of Malta. The curriculum, as you can see, places us now in the 7th track, and this is looking at pitching and likely finance questions, addressing a series of different types of finance options, including grant funding, debt finance, and equity finance. Slide 3 is really the heart of the matter. This shows the need to raise finance, and this is very typical for almost all businesses. If we take the cash flow forecast, the business budget, and from that look at the cash at the bank, how much money we have in the account over time, we'll normally see from the forecast that we have more going out of the account to begin with than that coming in. And that takes us into a cash negative position. Over time, if the business is successful, that trend reverses. But for a period of time, we have to consider what do we need, so how much and how long do we need it for, how long. So those are very, very important points. There are three main ways to raise business finance, as you can see on slide 4. The first one is grant funding. Now that's ideal because it does not need to be repaid. The second one is debt finance. That's a loan that must be repaid. And the third one is a more specialist form of finance when investor buys shares, and that's called equity finance. In this presentation, we're just going to focus on grant funding. Now, if you're very lucky, a source of grant funding may cover all initial funding needs, but that really requires it to be a comparatively modest amount. But do bear in mind that grant funding can be used as part of a larger funding strategy. In slide 5, we run through some of the issues that you need to be thinking about. Often, in many territories, different regions, there are several schemes that offer grant funding for early-stage businesses. They're generally operated by government departments or regional governments. Funding may be available as seed funding, that's designed to help a new business to become established, and sometimes funding is available for specific needs, such as capital expenditure on items such as machinery. Slide 6 shows some things to look out for. First of all, grant funding schemes are not necessarily open throughout the year. They often have a launch date and a closing date. So make sure that you're aware of the application closing date in particular. Many schemes have a focus on one or more business sectors to encourage growth in those areas. But most schemes will require your business to complete an application, and there will normally be an associated guidance note. Do make sure that you comply with all of the stated requirements for the application. That's absolutely critical. Slide 7 outlines the kind of information that you'll be asked for in addition to the application form. New business schemes will usually require you to complete the form and provide a business plan. So do look at module 5.2 in this series, which is about business planning, and that should include the milestone of progress that you expect to achieve. You'll need a cash flow forecast, and see module 5.5, that shows how the money will be spent. You may also be asked for a profit and loss and a balance sheet from your accountant. It's possible that you could be asked to attend for an interview, but it's less common to be asked to make a pitch, unless you're competing against others in a kind of grant funding situation which is put forward as a sort of competition, where there's limited funding and the best pitch will win. Slide 8 gives you an outline of the kind of questions that we think you should try to fit into the grant application form. And this follows the problem solution benefits model that we looked at very early in the program. The key questions that arise from this relating to problem solution benefits horizontally and in the enterprise delivering that solution to its customers are 4 straightforward questions. Firstly, can the enterprise do it? Secondly, do customers want what you're offering? Third, do customers perceive value? And fourth, can the enterprise make a profit? Remember to get across the message that the grant funding sought will help your business to achieve important and specific milestones. Slide 9 gives you some information about people who may be able to help you with your application. There will generally, in most regions, be some kind of enterprise agency, and they can help talk to you about the schemes and often advise on how to apply. Your accountant can certainly help review your application, and they may also know about different schemes that you could apply for, so do talk to them. There are some specialist consultants who write bids on behalf of clients. Some charge a flat fee, some charge a higher fee, but only after success, and some charge a combination of both. Slide 10 points out some of the risks of grant funding, and certainly with respect to the application, research shows that many applicants who fail to get grant funding simply applied under a scheme that their business did not qualify for. So make sure that you read the rules carefully. Again, it's quite astonishing that many applicants fail to complete the application form correctly or to provide all of the requested information. Putting in an application and making either of those two mistakes is probably almost certainly going to be an automatic fail. Now, do bear in mind that in some regions there's a limit of grant funding that can be applied for over several rounds. And so make sure you understand the rules before you make multiple applications to different sources of seed funding. If you're in doubt, ask your accountant. Slide 11 just summarises some conclusions here. It's important to note that grant funding is always a good idea because it allows you to access money that does not have to be repaid. That's terrific. But in addition, having won grant funding is viewed as a positive because it means an independent reviewer believes your business is worth supporting. Now, that can help your business to gain credibility, for example, with the bank. Always remember that if the grant is spent on something other than what was agreed, however, you'll almost certainly have to repay the money. The final slide, number 12, is what we'll be running if we were doing this in a classroom setting. So for now, I simply say thank you for listening.